Donald Trump was just humiliated after India dropped a major bombshell that could literally change everything. Following weeks of disastrous trade talks, the world's most populous country is now moving closer to America's biggest rivals, Russia and China, and it's all because of Trump's failed diplomacy. And if that wasn't bad enough, this one economist just issued a chilling warning that this is only the beginning of Trump's foreign policy disasters. So stick around to see how this bombshell is shaking up Trump's presidency, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. Now, as we know, Donald Trump has been working on dozens of trade deals with different countries, and so far, none of them have actually worked out. This month, not only did Trump fail to get another deal signed, but his newest one completely backfired in his face. You see, Trump has been trying to negotiate with the country of India, and despite not being one of America's biggest trading partners, India is incredibly important in global trade, having the largest population on Earth and a fast-growing economy. Now, despite spending weeks to try to negotiate with India, Donald Trump was completely surprised when this happened this weekend.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi told Chinese President Xi Jinping on Sunday that New Delhi is committed to improving ties with Beijing. His comment came as the pair discussed expanding trade and investment ties against the backdrop of US tariffs.
That's right. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, just had a major summit with the President of China where they discussed strengthening ties with each other instead of the United States. Donald Trump thinks he's a master negotiator, but in reality, he only drives other countries away from the United States. And if India getting closer to China wasn't bad enough, President Xi of China had a surprise guest for Modi this weekend. Without the Trump administration even knowing, Vladimir Putin traveled to China as well to meet with the two leaders. Prime Minister Modi is the leader of the world's largest democracy, and instead of strengthening ties with the leader of the free world, he is now making trade agreements with two dictators and America's greatest rivals. Now, what could have led to this major backfire for Donald Trump? Many of his trade talks have been failures, but so far, none of them has been so bad that the other country turns to America's enemies instead. Well, the New York Times is now blasting Trump this weekend because of how he apparently offended the leader of India in two massive screw-ups last month. In their article titled "The Nobel Prize and the Testy Phone Call," the New York Times explains that apparently India's government is furious because Trump keeps claiming that he saved them from a war this past summer. A few months back, India and Pakistan had some fiery border tensions, and despite doing absolutely nothing to prevent the two from going to war, Donald Trump keeps telling the world that he saved India and single-handedly prevented a major war from breaking out. Here he is just bragging about this last week.
In a world war, they were ready to trot. But just like India and Pakistan, we're going to end up in a nuclear war if I didn't stop them. You know, it's sort of strange. I saw they were fighting. Then I saw 7 jets were shot down. I said, that's not good. That's a lot of jets, you know. $150 million planes were shot down. A lot of them, 7, maybe more than that. They didn't even report the real number. And I'm talking to a very terrific man, Modi of India. And I say, what's going on with you in Pakistan? Then I'm talking to Pakistan on trade. I said, what's going on with you in India? And the hatred was tremendous. Now, this has been going on for a hell of a long time, like sometimes with different names for hundreds of years. But I said, what's going on? I said, I don't want to make a trade deal. No, we want to make a trade deal. I said, no, I don't want to make a trade deal with you. You're going to have a nuclear war. You guys are going to end up in a nuclear war. And that was very important to them. I said, call me back tomorrow, but we're not going to do any deals with you, or we're going to put tariffs on you that are so high. You were there, Howard, right? Yep. You're going to put tariffs on you that was so high, I don't give a damn. Your head's going to spin. You're not going to end up in a war. Within about 5 hours, it was done. It was done. Now, maybe it starts again. I don't know. I don't think so, but I'll stop it if it does. We can't let these things happen.
Donald Trump has been telling the world that he saved Prime Minister Modi from a war and that he does whatever Trump wants, and it looks like Modi is now getting sick of hearing it. And what's even more embarrassing for Trump is that the New York Times is also reporting from sources in the White House that Donald Trump called Modi and asked him to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. That's right. In his endless quest for a Nobel Prize, Donald Trump asked the Prime Minister to help him get one for stopping the war. Prime Minister Modi helped prevent a major war, and now Trump not only wants to take credit, but also thinks he deserves a trophy for not even helping. It's no wonder world leaders hate Donald Trump. But beyond being the most annoying world leader alive, Trump also made one critical mistake that is the final nail in the coffin for becoming better allies with India. Because according to economist Richard Wolff, American diplomats have been trying to work with India in an equal partnership, but Trump doesn't understand this because he's a clueless politician. India has a strong independent army and economy, and was apparently furious when Trump tried to bully them like a small defenseless country. Trump's trade tactics rely on tariffs and threats, and India is not putting up with these games. Instead, they will find someone else to trade with, and it looks like they just found two new big partners in Russia and China. Just take a look at this.
In that moment, when the U.S. turns to India and says, you will stop buying oil from Russia right now, or we are going to tariff you at the 50% level as opposed to the 25% level. And then India, and one of the Indian envoys came and did an interview with me sitting right here. Interesting man. Basically came back with a response, and this is what this gentleman told me as well. He said, I think what the United States is doing is unjust, irresponsible, and wrong, and we will not be told what to do in terms of who we can buy from and who we can't buy from. And in that moment, Professor, I thought to myself, the world just changed. Something just happened there that historians will write about, where the world just changed. Do you think I'm right? Extrapolate
Absolutely.
that forward.
And let me tell you how you're right with a couple of simple statistics. What you just showed us, Ambassador Barak in Lebanon, that's the United States talking to a small Mideastern country. That's not India. India is now, according to the United Nations, by population, the largest country on earth, having outgrown China, which used to have that position. If you do what the United States, what Mr. Trump is doing with these threats against India, who has a long historical relationship with Russia going back to the days of the Soviet Union and ever since, you are playing with a very different adversary. If you shut off the United States to India by big tariffs, India will have to find other places to sell its exports. But like Russia found another place to buy its, to sell its energy, India will sell its exports no longer to the United States, but to the rest of the BRICS. And what you're doing is you're hothouse fashion developing the BRICS to be an ever larger, more integrated, and successful economic alternative to the West. We are watching, as you put it, a historic moment, but it will be, for those with some humor, it will be the spectacle of the United States acting like it's the world's tough guy, as what it actually does is shoot itself in the foot.
So unlike Britain, who Trump can't agree on tariff percents with, Trump's India trade talks failed simply because they couldn't stand his stupidity. Trump has spent the summer trying to bully much smaller countries, but when he tried the same playbook on India, it completely blew up in his face. Instead of getting a new trade deal, Trump managed to shove the world's largest democracy straight into the arms of Russia and China. Disasters like this could hurt US diplomacy for years, so make sure you leave your predictions down in the comments below. Is Trump just bad for trade, or has he completely trashed any future alliance America could have made for decades to come?